Hello, good morning. This is News Desk. My name is Mama View Suabuaje. Coming up, Emil Short-led commission into La Baulishi violence continues its sitting today, and we will take you there live. I'll run you through persons expected to appear before the commission today. The IGP, David Asante Apietu, is scheduled to come before the commission this morning. Codeo and CDD will appear as election observers. And the man whose name we've heard many times, Double, whose real name is Ernest Nana Akomia, is also scheduled to appear before the commission today. We'll take you live to the Christianborg Castle, where the hearing is getting started this morning. We thank you for your company. Stay with us.
Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu and Patrick Kwartin Echampong. The sitting for today, the 5th day of March 2019, is in session. The Commission shall invite IGP David Asante Apietu to step forward to give his evidence. Sir, please, what do you swear by? The Bible, the Quran, or the Quran? The Bible. I,
David Asante Apietu,
do hereby swear by the Bible
do hereby swear by the Bible
that the evidence I shall give before the Commission of Inquiry
that the evidence I shall give before the Commission of Inquiry
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
Please be reminded that by the oath you have taken, you've made a promise to speak the truth, and the failure to do so constitutes an offense for which you'll be liable to punishment.
Chief, you're welcome. Will you, for the purposes of the record, repeat your full name to the commission?
My name is David Asante Apietu, the Inspector General of Police.
Kindly describe the duties of the Inspector General of Police to the commission.
My Lord, subject to the direction of the Police Council, I am responsible for the operations and the administration of the Ghana Police Service.
IGP, if you say operations, what do you mean?
Operations here involve all duties like the police patrols, interventions, criminal investigations department, and the work that they do, apart from the welfare and other directorates that do not form part of the operations.
What about administrative?
Administration involves the welfare, which includes the transfer of officers, training, both for the CID and the general pool, and then the career development, apart from giving them training, reorientation. We also have the logistics department and many others.
Now, it's come to my attention that you are a ballistic and a crime scene expert. Is that the case?
That is right, my lord.
Very well. On the question of operation, will it be the case that the IGP at any point in time is briefed of planned police operations in every single unit within the country before they are carried out?
My Lord, not in all cases, but in major and serious operations, I am informed about it.
And will it also be the case that the IGP is briefed about all incidents in every corner of the country after they've happened and the actions taken?
My Lord, I do receive daily SITREPs, and the SITREPs will normally be on the cases of interest to the Inspector General of Police. And some cases are not reported to me and are dealt with within the jurisdiction of the district or the region.
IGP, cases that will be of interest to the Inspector General of Police. Will you please explain?
My Lord, I'll begin by mentioning cases of robberies, especially when somebody loses his or her life. There are other stealing cases that depend on the premises, that is where the stealing took place. For example, the stealing of, there's some petty stealing, and there are some major ones. I mean, the stealing in this particular building will be a major case that should be brought to the attention of the Inspector General of Police. So it depends on the case, and the personalities also involved in the case. They are always brought to the attention of the IGP.
IGP, major robbery incident in my village called Kukuum in the Ahafo region. Will it be brought to the IGP's attention?
Yes, it will be brought to my attention.
Now, is it the case that the IGP briefs the Minister of Interior of all happenings within the country every day?
My Lord, that is not the case. I also brief him on cases that, in my opinion, should be brought to his attention. And these are serious cases that I think it would need his attention, and perhaps he may also have to report to the presidency.
So then there isn't any occasion where the IGP will liaise directly with the president. Is that the case?
Yes, that is, we meet with the president during national security meetings. Apart from that, if the president has anything of interest to direct me or discuss with me, the president invites me.
Now, on the 31st of January 2019, at the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, specifically La Baoleshi and its enclave, incidents of violence were reported. I believe they've come to your attention.
Yes, my Lord.
More specifically, there was a shooting incident around the house of the NDC parliamentary candidate. You are aware?
Yes, my Lord.
There is also an incident in which a member of parliament was slapped. Are you aware of that as well?
Yes, my Lord.
Now, IGP, tell the commission, how soon after these incidents did they come to your attention?
My Lord, on the day of that incident, I happened to be at a function that was the sword cutting ceremony for the building, the 24-unit school building for the children of police officers living at the police depot. So I was at the function when my minister called me, where I've had an incident at Ayawaso, Wuogon constituency. I told him I was going to find out immediately and get back to him. So I did call my operations Director General, who told me that he has monitored it on the set and therefore he is proceeding to a constituency. So I asked him to do that and report back to me.
IGP, ordinarily, who should be the right person to have brought this incident to your attention instead of the minister?
My Lord, it's not, does not actually matter who brings the information to my attention. A complainant may even be a radio announcer, could be somebody who has nothing to do with security at all. But at this particular incident, it was the minister who called me. And it was just after the incident. I'm sure somebody had called him. Or on my phone, somebody had called earlier, but had overlooked the call. But the moment I saw the ministers, I picked it up.
Now, have you had the opportunity to visit the scene of the incident?
Yes, my Lord.
The scene of shooting incidents?
Yes, my Lord.
As a crime scene expert, what was your initial observation?
My Lord, you may have to explain for me to understand.
Very well. How soon after the incident did you visit?
My Lord, in the police service, I had once been the head of the crime scene unit. And these are people who have been trained to manage crime scenes. So I wasn't expected to respond to the crime scene immediately because we have crime scene managers who were to do that. So I did not attend to the crime scene immediately, but I went there later.
Chief, can we define later?
I went there the last Sunday.
Last week, Sunday.
Yes, my Lord.
And that would be?
Sunday, the last Sunday, that was the day before yesterday. Today is Tuesday.
Yes.
Today is Tuesday, so the day before yesterday.
So that would be 2 days after the commission had visited the site. Am I right?
Yes, my Lord.
Very well. Chief, has it come to your attention at all that the crime scene, minutes after the incident, got disturbed?
Yes, my Lord.
And you agree with me that that actually is a general problem in our country?
It is very unusual. It's not very unusual in this country.
And what are we doing about that?
My Lord, we need to educate the public. And I intend adding it to the Ghana Police Watch series on our TV programs.
If you agree with me, this has gone on since time immemorial. And you have been the IGP for a year plus. And you have known about this problem since you were an investigator yourself. So you will agree with me that it's a little late.
Whilst I was the head of the Criminal Investigation Department, my Lord, we used Zingaro to do some animation on crime scenes. So it is not going to be the first time.
Very well. Now, I'm not sure, but then have you seen the videos around about the incidents?
My Lord, I've seen some pieces. I don't know how many of them.
Very well.
But I've seen some of them.
Very well. And in these videos, have you seen some men masked, dressed in brown and black? Some of them have the indication police written on their shirts. Others have national security, riding a huge vehicle with a police insignia. Have you seen that one?
Yes, my lord.
Evidence before the commission is that these were men deployed by the National Security Council. Has that come to your attention?
Yes, my lord.
Were you aware before their deployment?
My lord, no.
IGP, you agree with me that the police is in charge of internal security in the country, am I right?
Yes, my lord.
And that if any other agency is going to be deployed to do anything in connection with our internal security, at least the man in charge of our security must be put on notice. Do you agree with me?
Yes and no, my lord.
Let's do yes first and do no later. If you say yes, what do you mean?
Yes, because if the operation is not going to be beyond the Ghana Police Service, I think we should be informed. No, because the National Security Council is the governing body of all the intelligence agencies in the country. The intelligence that they gather, they do disseminate. We do receive reports from them and we act. But I believe that sometimes it is need-to-know basis. So they have the prerogative not to inform the Ghana Police Service.
Chief, are you saying that the National Security Council supersede the Ghana Police Service in terms of internal security? Is that what you're saying?
No, they have a role to play, and that is responsible for all the intelligence agencies in the country. And that also form part of the internal security.
Chief, you see, in this particular instance, we have had some high-rank police officers, including the regional commander, regional operations officer, some divisional commanders and district commanders who have told the commission that they were not aware, first of all, of the deployment of the SWAT group of national security. They have also told the commission that even though there is evidence that the SWAT was in the constituency and patrolled for a while, it never came to their attention. You don't see any problem with that?
Yes, there is a problem. There is a problem. And I am not disputing the fact that my regional commanders and others didn't know about this. I also did not know about this operation. So I side with them. That to patrol within the unit with that inscription, police, definitely individual police officers who have been deployed at the polling station may not have any cause to complain about it because it has the police inscription on the vehicles that they were using.
Chief, you will agree with me, won't you, that if that is the case, then any group at all can masquerade themselves as police, get a vehicle with police insignia without a GP number, come in there, perpetuate whatever activity they wanted to, and go back without the police noticing.
Yes, I agree with you. That is, if the police have not been informed about this operation, definitely, and it means that anybody could also pass for any police operational unit and do whatever they want to do. I agree with you.
Chief, you will also agree with me that this is a clear evidence of lack of cooperation and coordination within the internal security organizations.
I do not disagree with you.
Going forward, what do you think we should do as far as this is concerned?
Well, there's a lot of room for improvement as far as coordination and collaboration is concerned.
Have you made any suggestion to your friends within the intelligence community?
Well, I have discussed it with certain individuals within the police service and outside the service.
And have you received any possible outcome?
Well, they are not in authority, but I hope that we will present a paper in that direction.
Now, the commission is told that there are a number of police officers who are, now you give me the right word, either detachment or secondment. Which one would it be? With the SWAT national security, would it be secondment or detachment?
Yes, secondment.
Secondment, very well. Is that the case?
Yes, my lord.
Chief, do we know the number as at now?
36.
36, very well. Now, the police officers on secondment, do they on any occasion at all report to the police?
My lord, when the officers have been seconded to a requesting organizations such as the national security, operationally they become responsible to the national security. It is only in terms of administration that we have that responsibility. So they may report to the police headquarters if it has something to do with their salary or discipline or any other administrative activity.
So then, is it a case that ordinarily the police wouldn't be informed of whatever duty or operations they are put to?
My lord, the national security may choose to tell us about an activity they are embarking upon, but I do not expect them to tell us of all operations that they conduct with the police officers.
Chief, are you aware of various incidents that have been committed by people said to be police officers who were on secondment?
The police officers who have been sent there have been trained, to go by the rules and regulations of the service. Even whilst there, their respect for human rights and a respect for the rule of law should be something that they should always go by. And if they should breach these rules and regulations and is reported or is brought to the attention of the police administration, such officers will be disciplined according to our regulations.
Now, we have a situation where police officers on secondment will have to undertake whatever activity the new agency asks them to. So if in the course of performing those duties, they end up breaching the rules and regulations of the police, who then is supposed to punish them?
It is the Ghana Police Service.
But they were only obeying orders.
Well, if you obey orders and the orders are lawful, you won't have any problem.
Chief, is it the case that after every incident within the police administration, and after incident report is prepared? The case?
Yes, my lord.
Now, the commission has had the benefit of some officers before you, and the evidence seemed to be that after the Ayawaso West Wogod incident, there's not been an after incident report. Has that come to your attention?
Yes, my lord. But I have a report that is an interim report now with me.
Is that available here?
It's available, my lord.
Would you want to tender that to the commission?
Yes, my lord.
Chief, I do understand that within the police service you have different means of communicating. Is text message one of them?
My lord, yes.
WhatsApp messages?
My lord, yes.
Very well. We've had an evidence where the regional commander is said to have sent a WhatsApp message to a district commander, and specifically the East Legon district commander, expecting him to perform certain election duties. My observation is that there was no reply to it, but then he was expected to have carried that out. That is why I'm asking you that question. Is it normal?
My lord, it's normal. I am on the same platform with all regional commanders. The police management board members also have a platform. And this communication, because there is a record trail, I mean, it's a valid kind of communication amongst us.
Yes, Chief. Record trail. How does the police keep record trails of text messages on mobile phone and WhatsApps on mobile phone? Let's say come 5 years' time, IGP is on leave, is on retirement, and we are looking for trails. Is it possible to have all that?
My lord, after 5 years, these records, normally, the ones we send on the WhatsApps, culminate into a document. So we can use both. But for immediate communication, you will rely on the social media.
At what time, at what point in time do you reduce all these phone communications into writing? I mean, written document.
Yes. For example, what occurred between the regional commander and the district commander, in his report, they include that these things occurred. So these are some of the documents I'm talking about.
Chief, I know you are worried about vigilantism. Am I right?
Very, very much so, my lord.
Because I listened to your press conference in which you asked the politicians to disown their vigilante groups. Am I right?
That's correct.
On the 14th of February in the year of our Lord 2019. Chief, would you say press conferences and talking tough is enough to fight vigilantism?
My lord, is part of it.
What proactive measures are we putting in place to make sure this menace is nipped in the bud?
My lord, as a police officer, we have our mandate to protect life and property, to prevent crime and detect, apprehend offenders and their prosecution. We are also to maintain law and order. there had been many incidents of these so-called vigilante cases, either within the party or between parties. And we respond to them accordingly. We process them. We had difficulties, especially when it is within the party, because they don't come to provide any evidence. Sometimes they come with withdrawal letters if there is a complainant who wouldn't want to cooperate. So we can do to the extent that we go to court, where these offenses are also described as misdemeanors. And then they are sentenced with, sometimes with a small fine, and it's not deterrent enough to stop it. But this is what, as police officers, we can do.
So do you think a change in our laws, for instance, will help?
My Lord, as a law enforcement agent, we will be waiting for that law to be promulgated, and then we will enforce it.
Very well, Chief. The political parties also give reasons why they think they must have their own security, or if they do not yet have, will have to have. Have some of these reasons come to your attention?
My Lord, yes. But I do not understand why they should give those reasons when they can register their private security company as other private security organizations and say that this is ABC, they're going to provide protection at homes and elsewhere, and this will be sanctioned by law.
For instance, Mr. John Boadu appeared before the commission yesterday, and he gave an account of incidents in which he was involved and the police was helpless.
I didn't hear about that. What incident, my Lord?
One was at Ahafo Kenyase, where he came under attack from another, for want of a better word, vigilante group. He ran to a police station. The police tried firing warning shots, and these people were retaliating. So, but for the presence of his personal security, he wouldn't know where he will be.
Okay. So his personal security also had arms?
We do not have that information.
Okay. Well, I wish I were there to also know about the scenario that he was describing.
Generally, the political parties say they do not trust the police to protect their lives and properties, especially when they are in opposition. What do you have to say?
When they are in opposition, my Lord, you said?
That is so. Especially, not exclusively.
My Lord, recently the NDC had their presidential election, for the candidate. And we did not see the presence of any vigilante group. The police enabled them to have a very smooth election, and at the end they had their presidential candidate elected. They congratulated the police service. And I'm happy you also mentioned that when they are in opposition, yes, the NDC is in opposition, and they know that we can do the work.
Chief, a number of examples readily come to mind. That might not have been under your tenure, but then when the president was candidate Nanado, an incident was reported in his house where people purporting to be going on sports activities threw stones into his house. Now, the president's house is just across the street from Nima police station, but then the report had it that, one, there was no police presence, two, nothing was done. So that is a typical example of the complaint of the political parties. What do you have to say about that?
My Lord, this particular incident did not occur under my watch, though I was a senior police officer. I will beg to go and revisit this case.
Chief, you see, the politicians are saying that until these issues are addressed practically, they will always have reasons to have their private security operatives, whatever name we choose to call them. What do you say?
My Lord, if a complaint is lodged at a police station by anybody, whether a party member of a religion, any race, it is the duty of the police to respond to that person, conduct investigations, and then ensure that the person is prosecuted if he's found culpable. This is the work of a police officer. Failing to do that, then you must face some disciplinary action.
Chief, there is this perception among a cross-section of our society and some civil society organizations that the Ghana Police Service is highly politicized. What do you say?
My Lord, when they say highly politicized, you can explain a bit for me?
Very well. Now, usually what they say is that if you have a situation where the IGP, for instance, is appointed by the president, and once an IGP is appointed, the higher echelon is changed overnight, then such a service is likely to be politicized because everyone then will have to somehow either kowtow to or bow to a political master. What do you have to say?
My Lord, I have very little to say about this. I mean, it is a provision within the Constitution that the President shall appoint the Inspector General of Police in consultation with the Council of State. And I think there are so many reasons behind that. I am not privy to it, but I will want to know why it is so. But if you go to other developed countries, it is the case. I don't know whether, it's a change in government in the UK, and the chief constable is still the chief constable. That is not, it is for us to be very professional in the work that we do. But if there should be a referendum, which I know it's a bit cumbersome, to change it, I'm for it because I'm part of this society.
Very well, Chief. Chief, there's also been complaints from police officers about being either demoted, denied promotion, or transferred because they took actions against someone related to a political master. Some of these incidents throughout your years of service come to your attention, not particularly as the IGP.
My Lord, I'll use myself as an example. And I have stayed on my rank as a deputy commissioner for almost 10 years. I was not perturbed. And I believed I did my work as a police officer, even during that period. I can say that I did a lot more during that period. You have a work to do. You contribute to this country. And that is why you are in uniform. You may complain. But if you complain, is that the song in you is not going to come out. and then you retire having done what you wanted to do whilst in the police service. So those who are afraid of transfers and the delay in promotions, they should continue to do their work, and they will be found out.
Chief, do you agree with me or not that it happens?
Yes, it does. But you are unable to explain why you have been transferred, because you are serving the Ghana Police Service and perhaps not Accra Police or Tumu Police Service. But you are transferable. You are transferable. And if it's about promotion and it is delayed, you can petition the IG or the police council. And you can even go to the Supreme Court if it happens so.
You see, the Greater Accra Regional Operations Officer gave a scenario like that to the commission where he had to be transferred inexplicably from Kumasi because he took a firm action against some political actors. Are you aware of that?
No, my lord.
Very well. Thank you, IGP. Mr. Chairman, your witness.
Mr. IGP, thank you for your testimony. As I understand your testimony, it is not in every situation where the national security decides to undertake action or an operation, it is necessary for them to inform the Ghana police.
Yes, my lord. Especially the A.W.W. wagon incident.
The case of the A.W.W. Wagon constituency, where the operation took place very close to a polling station, don't you think in that particular situation, Ghana Police Service should have been informed that this operation was going to take place?
Yes, my lord.
But that was not done.
Not that I know of. I wasn't told, my lord.
So going ahead, you think that you are going to take steps to have an interaction with the National Security Service so that you could agree on circumstances or situations where the police service should be informed about some of their operations?
Yes, my lord.
Now, the head of the SWAT, National Security SWAT team, is a police officer.
Yes, my lord.
He is responsible to whom?
Operationally responsible to the national security.
Do you think that is a reasonable arrangement?
My lord.
Especially since the SWAT team also consists of police officers who have been seconded to the SWAT team.
My lord, I have also been on secondment, and I wasn't responsible to my Inspector General of Police at the time. but to the organization that I was working with. My organization will have to send a report about me to my Inspector General of Police. But I was tasked to do some other activities. And I believe that, yes, I know it was spelled out in the conditions of service to that organization. But in this case, we always believe that the police officers are sent there to provide security to certain installations and protection for certain functions, especially when we have international conferences. But apart from that, they are also given this training in weapons and tactics and has transformed them into the SWAT. So they perform dual or maybe more duties at the national security.
So if any of the police officers seconded to the national security SWAT team acts in a manner which contradicts the rules of engagement, for example, uses excessive force or assaults brutally people they come into contact with, who's responsible to discipline such people?
My Lord, if it should come to our attention, we will call him and report the matter to the new organization about his conduct, and we will discipline him.
Which organization are you referring to?
In this particular case, we're talking about the national security.
The national security will be responsible for disciplining.
No, my Lord. It is the Ghana Police Service.
The Ghana Police Service.
Yes,
okay, so in the case we are dealing with, the events that occurred at Ewasu constituency, has it come to your notice that certain police officers acted in a manner contrary to the rules of engagement?
Yes, my Lord. First of all, we have been trained, and our service instructions enjoin us that we should not use torture or any violence, to solve a problem. You can use a minimum force when it's absolutely necessary. The discharge of a firearm, any officer who fires or give command to any armed party to fire a weapon should know that it is almost certain that he is going to be called upon to justify his or her action before a judicial body of some kind. So going by this, that officer will be brought to a judicial body of some kind and face an inquiry by the police service. First of all, if you had made the entries in your books about the number of rounds that you have fired and what was the result, you have to state your name and your number. You also have to tell us the number of rounds that you have with you, how many were issued, and what you have. So all these things will be some of the questions that will be asked such a person.
So what steps have you taken so far in respect of the conduct or behavior of police officers who were involved, who were part of the SWAT team and acted contrary to service regulations?
My Lord, the Police Professional Standards Bureau officers are keeping note of all these things. And as the investigation is going on, we are inviting everybody that took part in this operation at A.W.W.
How soon do you think your investigation will be complete?
My Lord, we have written on 2 occasions, and we're still waiting for the officers to be released. And I'm sure when we have interviewed all of them and other civilians who were also at the scene and gotten the doctor's report and then the forensic report, we are able to conclude and perhaps send the docket to the Attorney General for advice.
As part of your investigation, I believe it has come to your notice that several persons were injured during this operation.
Yes, my Lord.
How many people has come to your knowledge were injured?
I've learned about 18.
Are you fully aware of the nature of the injuries each and every one of them sustained?
My Lord, I know of a gunshot wound, the leg of one person who is now at the 37 military hospital. I haven't read the medical report of each and every one to know exactly the kind of injuries they have sustained during the incident.
Don't you think it would have been extremely important for you to find out how many persons sustained gunshot wounds, since it is the police officers of the SWAT team who we are told are armed and not the national security operatives? That I think is an extremely important information that should concern you.
Yes, my Lord. I have tried to do that, but when I have not had the report from the doctor, it's a bit difficult for me. But I know that 2 persons, I can say, have sustained gunshot wounds. The others, I am unable to tell. And even that, those I say they have sustained gunshot wound, I think the investigators had an oral report from the doctors who were attending to them.
Now, according to the information that, according to the testimony of the SWAT commander, says that only 6 warning shots were fired during this operation. Have you been able to determine how those who sustained gunshot wounds, who fired the shots which resulted in the gunshot wounds suffered by at least the 2 people you are aware of?
My Lord, the investigations are ongoing, especially the forensic ballistic report should tell us something. Especially if a bullet is embedded in the body, you are able to connect it to a firearm. And I do not know what they have retrieved from the bodies of those who sustained the gunshot wound. But if there is a bullet, then you are able to connect it to a firearm that discharged it.
So the forensic report is not yet ready? No,
my Lord. I think the pieces of evidence are trickling in. They are still receiving cartridge cases and some other evidence, pieces of evidence.
You said you have watched some of the videos
Yes,
about
ma'am.
the incident that took place at A.W.W. Did it come to your notice that in one of the videos, about 49 shots were fired?
My Lord, I had several shots fired while I was watching the video, but I couldn't count the number of them.
Definitely, there were more than 6.
Yes, my Lord.
Have you been able to unravel the contradiction as to the number of shots that were fired and the statement by the SWAT commander that only 6 warning shots were fired?
My Lord, if we have all the weapons that were sent to A.W.W, we are able to match all the cartridge cases to the weapons that discharge those rounds.
And that is yet to be done.
Yes, my Lord.
Now, I see that in your interim report, you say that the National Security Council had information that thugs had been bussed from the northern part of the country to disrupt the by-election. You also state that further information gathered indicated that all the suspects were not voters or residents of the constituency. They were from Medina, Jamestown, A.W.W, Nima, and some from Tamale who were believed to be members of the Azoka Boys and were brought into the house of the NDC parliamentary candidate, Mr. Delali Kwesi Brempong, a day before the by-election. What information or evidence have you gathered about this allegation that members of the Azoka Boys were brought to the location?
My Lord, this is an interim report, and I believe that this is what the investigative team were told. So, as I was saying, these investigations are ongoing. We have not completed. So maybe at the end of it all, we will come out with a final report on the case.
But you saw a video in which an honorable member, Honorable Sam George, was assaulted, was slapped.
Yes, my Lord.
Do you know who slapped him?
I do not know him, my Lord.
You watched the video?
Yes, I did, my Lord.
You couldn't identify the assailant?
No, my Lord.
And your investigation so far have not been able to identify the assailant?
My Lord, it will come to be known.
Mr. IGP, the perception that the police are reluctant to intervene when there are incidents of political thuggery because of the fear of sanctions or reprisals. And that has come to your notice, right?
Yes, my Lord.
To what extent have you been able to assure your men and women of the police service that that will not happen under your watch? And don't you think you should publicly give them this assurance?
My Lord, I have done that. I invited all regional commanders to an emergency regional commanders conference in Accra. And I did mention that these crimes are crimes. They do not have any color. And they must deal with each and every one according to the law of the land. And we have listed a number of cases and the police response to all these cases. It is not that we have not been intervening. If it happens within the party, it's an intra-party thing, you do not get people to come and you provide a written statement. And it makes our investigations very, very difficult. There are some we were able to get them to the court, they were convicted. There are many of them, they withdrew, complainants withdrew, and said that, well, I don't want to pursue the case anymore. And my Lord, if you permit me, this is not exhaustive because 2018 list is not here. 2018, we had about two cases, and then 2019, another one. And we are dealing with all these cases. So the police are always tagged as being political. But we have a proof that we respond to all these cases, according to the dictates of our rules and regulations.
This assurance which you gave to your regional commanders that nobody would be victimized if he or she acts in a situation involving political actors, has it trickled down to men and women on the ground at the lower levels?
My Lord,
so, how has that been done?
I do not have any reason to doubt it because all those cases that have been brought to our attention, they have acted on them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, IG, for your testimony. I think I'll continue from where Chairman left off. We have received testimony here from your officers who went to the scene of the clash, let me put it that way, and who obviously may have reported to whoever compiled this report. But apart from an eyewitness yesterday who testified about keys to 3 Mahindra vehicles, or at least a key to Mahindra vehicles that were parked there and which these officers seized, none of your people has mentioned that there were 3 Mahindra vehicles which the people may have come on or were going to be buzzed away from the place and which caused the conflict. Don't you think that if a commission like this receives evidence on oath from senior police officers and they omit vital parts, that they feed rumors about political agendas?
My Lord, I want you to explain further. I didn't get the question very well.
I'm saying if senior police officers do not represent situations as they have occurred, even before a commission of inquiry such as this one, don't they feed rumors of political agendas?
My Lord, yes, that
It's
perception.
in your report, but we have not been told. And they've all been here except for the one who has now taken over the investigation. All the actors who went to the scene have been here. And yet it was from an eyewitness that we heard of a Mahindra vehicle. And in your report, 3 Mahindra vehicles were on the scene, and it was the seizure of a key to one of them that caused the initial problem. None of your people has reported on that.
My Lord, I have taken note of it.
You said these police officers, these 36 police officers, are on secondment to their national security.
Yes, my Lord.
Are there no issues of command and control, judging by the way that national security has put them to use?
My Lord, as I said earlier, operationally, they are responsible to the national security, and we believe the national security is also operating within the laws of the land. And if there is anything untoward, we received a complaint, and we will have to take action against that particular officer. So they have their structure, and I said earlier on that when they are seconded, we are of the view that they are going there for protection duties. But sometimes they give them other training to perform other duties that we may not be informed.
Is there an MOU between the police and the National Security Council Secretariat?
It's in the spirit of cooperation among agencies to normally supply the needs of other agencies, and not only the human resources. We also will give logistics such as firearms and other logistics to the national security, to the BNI, to the fire service, and to other security agencies as well.
But if there's no MOU governing the relationship, then you cannot complain that they are putting your people to use that the police service does not sanction.
My Lord, I agree to that.
The police are supposed to use their authority as police,
yes, my
to
Lord,
effect arrests and so on. Are they allowed to effect arrests without the outside the police service instructions?
My Lord, you mean the police officers who are on secondment?
Yes.
Yes, my Lord. They still have the power of arrest.
They do.
They do.
But is it not the same as the average police officer?
It's the same as the average police officer.
You have talked about the fact that you have written twice to the national security for the officers to be interviewed. Obviously, if your first letter had got them released to be interviewed, you wouldn't have written a second letter.
Yes, my Lord.
So if you have difficulty exercising the administrative control over the people you have seconded and who are not operationally under your control, there's a problem, isn't there?
Yes, my Lord.
Now, the kind of operation that we now know they undertook, in the police service, would you put them in charge, in the charge of a DSP, ASP, or DSP?
My Lord, a DSP is responsible enough to handle inspectors and men of 36, based on the training that he's been given.
Are you aware that your seconded officers sometimes have to go on operations with civilians who may or may not be armed and who are not subject to police service orders?
My Lord, I did not know about this.
Because we have evidence that some of the people who went on that operation were civilians, and that has been the norm.
Yes. My Lord, we have 36 police officers, and I'm also told that there were 60 persons who went on the operation. Definitely, the others may not be police officers.
And not subject to your control.
No, my Lord.
So if the police are subject to the administrative police of the administrative control of Ghana Police, then it means there's no administrative control at the national security end. And if there are people from national security who are not subject to police control, and there's no control on the national security end, then they are subject to no one's control. And they handle firearms.
My Lord, I did not see the faces of people who were wielding the firearms.
They were masked,
right.
So obviously.
It's not our duty to engage operatives at the national security. Perhaps they have a way of training them and giving them arms. I haven't come across the document of engaging the operatives and giving them firearms. But I know the police officers, they have been trained to bear firearms.
I'm asking you to consider the situation those people are placed in, that they are subject to a discipline, the people they go out and work with are not.
Yes, my Lord.
And they don't have any control. In one of the videos we saw, DSP Azugu was actually trying to part a fight instead of ordering that the operative should cease. It means he had no control.
Yes, my Lord. I mean, this commission has brought to fore so many things, so many lessons that we are learning.
And I hope you'll take some action.
Yes, my Lord.
We are told that some intelligence was received, and that is what sent the people to that area. But the intelligence was received in time for them to ask for a warrant. There was no warrant. They were relying on the police officers' powers of arrest, which are based on reasonable suspicion. Would you recommend that we operate in this fashion in a constitutional setup?
No, my Lord. And I think there were some other things that went wrong, because if they were using a vehicle with the inscription police and a civilian number, and they are also wearing uniforms that does not suggest that they are actually police officers, it would definitely going to embolden the people that they clashed with. Because the uniforms, if they had put on a uniform as our operation order dictates, that they were in blue, as all of us, I am sure the people would have listened to them a bit. But the way the operation was conducted leaves some much to be desired.
I know from your operational orders that you have SWAT Alpha and SWAT Bravo teams, at least.
Yes, my Lord.
What can these SWAT Alpha and SWAT Bravo teams do that or let me reverse it. What can the National Security Council SWAT team do that SWAT Alpha and SWAT Bravo cannot do?
My Lord, I do not know the capabilities of the National Security SWAT team for now, because some of them were not posted there as SWAT members from the police service to the national security, but they have been given some form of training. And
can you testify to what form of training?
Well, I know that they have been trained, but specifically what type of training that will make them more capable than us, I am unable to tell. But I believe that the operation was not an extraordinary one. If you had intelligence on something, then the police service can also do the same operation.
Would you recommend, as a head of the police, that we should have a unit outside the police, subject to somebody else's orders, who is not in the police, operating and doing the same kind of things that your capable and trained police officers can do?
My Lord, my suggestion will be against that.
How very diplomatic, sir. But I take the way you have expressed it, that it is unwise to have a unit like that operating outside the police, using police powers, using police officers to cover civilians, using people who have been trained in a way the police has not been involved in, or any of your training officers have been involved in this extra training that they may have been given. So I'm asking, are any of the police training officers involved in this extra training they may have been given?
My Lord, not that I know of.
So the police don't know the content of the training, and these are people who have been seconded who are due to return at some stage.
Yes, my Lord.
I understand some even go on peacekeeping thereafter.
Maybe true. I don't know any of them who had been on the peace.
And Ghana police certifies that they have undergone the human rights and due diligence vetting.
My Lord, these days you cannot just go for peacekeeping training without going through some processes, and you have to be certified before
I know,
you go.
but you are certifying because some have gone.
Yeah.
Can we tidy up the space a bit?
That's so, my Lord.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, IG. Let me start off from where Madam left off. This phenomenon of, you and I have worked with the national security setup for almost 10 years, 2001 to 2009. This phenomenon of having a permanent standby force there, it wasn't there during our time, was it?
No, sir. No, my Lord.
I thought my memory was failing me. I've always been thinking about it. So it's probably something that started maybe from 2009 until now. But in those days, any time they wanted to do something special, you could always count on the police or the military, isn't it?
Yes, my Lord.
Now, with respect of the vehicle, the GP insignia, which the public were worried about. Now we have a lot of police officers seconded to several organizations, including the mines, and including the VIPPU security at Jubilee House or the castle as it used to be. And when they go, they are given vehicles. And they have GP at the back. There are police officers using these vehicles.
Yes, my Lord.
And they are supposed to obey lawful orders. So in this particular case, I think the problem arises from the fact that the GP was not even fitted well. Have you seen that vehicle, Aji?
The black one?
Yeah, the GP was not fitted well and it was even coming off.
Yes, my Lord.
And that, of course, gave the public cause for concern because there had been some form of disowning of the group by senior police officers. So if the public watching the CV heard that the police said they didn't know this group, and even the vehicle that they were using, the GP was coming off, it was cause for concern to the public. Now, based on all that has happened, going forward, would you advise that we now put down in writing memorandum of understanding for all the instances of secondment to all the organizations. In the past, as you said, spirit of cooperation, the mines will come for people, they'll go, they'll give them logistics, they'll work. We never had any problems. Even CMB, they used to come for detachments, 1 month, 2 months. But this permanent posture that is creeping up, I think we need to have something on paper that would guide all of us.
Yes, my Lord.
Now let you take us to school a little on the ballistics business because of all that has been said and shown about the crime scene. First of all, you were gazetted as a ballistics examiner several years ago. And you're also a certified crime scene examiner. And you've attended several courses on ballistics in Ghana and elsewhere. And please, you have to speak up so that she...
Yes, my Lord.
And you teach at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology,
Yes,
ballistics and other things. Take us to school, number one. Shooting in the air, hitting people, shooting the air, hitting people has become so common in this country in the last few years. When somebody fires a weapon, a warning shot, and is into the air, as is regulated, what happens to the bullet?
My Lord, if you fire in the air perpendicularly, it means that that missile is going to go until a point that it cannot go further. So it will come down and hit the ground. And that speed will be dependent on the gravity, so it will not be as much. But the moment you tilt a weapon, though you think you are giving a warning shot, you are going to injure or kill somebody sitting on the balcony somewhere, because the trajectory of the bullet is such that it's a parabolic.
Just a moment. Our lady is trying to get everything. This technical words, perpendicular and trajectory. Are you right? You okay?
Yes, it travels like like an arc, and the speed is still so powerful that any object that it meets in its way is going to get hit, and if it doesn't perforate, it will get embedded in that person. So it is not advisable, and even our service instruction says that you should not fire over the heads of a crowd. And if you do that, you may be killing somebody elsewhere. And at Ayawaso, I saw about almost about 2 meters high. That is the container.
The container, the one
Yes,
outside.
my Lord.
Yes.
The bullet perforated the container. It came out, and I'm sure by the time it came from the second perforation, maybe the speed has limited, so that it couldn't have caused anything. But it is still dangerous, since we do not know the intermediary, how strong it was able to reduce the speed of that missile. So warning shots, you better don't, but fire effectively. Like the instruction says that you have to fire to the knees, and especially at the ringleaders. If there's a mob attacking life and property, then you have to aim effectively at the knees of those to tell them that, yes, you mean business and you want to ensure that there's law and order.
Those marks, first of all, there are some marks on the wall in the school. Did you see that one?
Yes, my Lord.
And some people were saying they are bullet marks, but the headmistress said they are not.
Yes, my Lord, they are not. And if you look at the edges of those run holes, you could see that it was deliberately made. And I got to know that there used to be a plaque there that was removed and then placed up. So these were the marks, the nail marks that were left there.
I'm glad you also saw it, because this is what the headmistress told us. And a lot of the press were there. but one media house reported that on our inspection we found 10 marks indicating that bullets have been fired into the wall, and it was very embarrassing to us. Now, those marks on the trees, what do they tell you? What would you...
My Lord, I have asked the firearms examiner to do some more work on that. Because, like I said, I don't know what distance the fire was from those trees.
Some 2 persons have given evidence that those firing were about 40, 50 meters away.
Yes, and I expect the bullet to be embedded in the tree.
In the trees, yes.
However, I have asked them to get a 9mm bullet and a pistol and fire at different distances and see how it's going to be like. So I think they're going to do some work on that.
So the powerful weapons that the military and the police have, if there are those weapons, then ordinarily they would be embedded in the tree.
Oh yes, they are so powerful, and the trees are not so dry. And they stood one behind the other, and they all had the holes, same level. If somebody aimed, then...
now we also have evidence that at least 2 persons, one said he actually was being targeted. He was running away. Now what the scenario they've given us is that, did you go to the man's house from the school? No, there's some narrow lane.
Yes, my Lord, we did that.
And the scenario one of them gave was that he was running to the man's gate or something. And there were these forces behind, and we were firing several shots. Another one said he was hiding and he saw the forces firing several shots, and both of them said there were lots of civilians in front of the man's gate. And that's what surprises us, that if people are firing direct, these heavy weapons, and nobody was killed.
My Lord, I saw that space between the candidate's house and then the opposite wall. And if people were there and they were fired at, then really there would be fatalities. But I believe that perhaps they were also firing over their heads. But if they had fired the midsection, I'm sure, if the people were standing there because the place is not so wide, then there would have been more fatalities. Yes,
thank you, Mr. IGP.
Thank you very much, Mr. IGP. Just one question. I want you to enlighten me on why invariably the Ghana Police Service only use live bullets.
Live bullets?
Yeah. Why don't you use rubber bullets or other methods like tear gas, shields, when you are confronting protesters or people you have to deal with? It seems, I don't know whether you have some guidelines or standard operating practice as to when you should use rubber bullets which would not cause the same kind of injury as live bullets. What's the guideline?
My Lord, we do have these ammunitions that you are talking about, like the rubber bullets. We do have the shields and the long baton. And during demonstrations, the rapid deployment force becomes the frontliners, and they have the shield and the baton. If they face any resistance beyond their control, the second batch of people come with the rubber bullets or the tear gas. We've been using these things, and even at during the elections, we do not send anything there at all. You just go there all by yourself as a police officer. And these are the rules of the election process. So we do have them, and it's a force continuum. We go from one stage to the other, and then we move on to, before we apply the live ammunition.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you for your testimony.
I also thank you very much. I just, because the council, Semensa, they talked about the vigilante thing. It is also very dear to my heart. And the Ghana Police Service has already started with banners showing that vigilantism is a threat to our democracy. And so we've started putting banners at our headquarters. We've received some support from the Pentecostal Council as well, that they want to partner us in doing this. And I want to urge all civil society groups to also be with us. Political parties claim they do not sponsor. Maybe individuals within the party do sponsor. But it is my firm belief that if all of us, at least if we should get the critical mass of Ghanaians, to say that whoever has a vigilante group in his political party, we are not going to vote for you. You won't get that power. All of us, I am sure that it will make the work of the police much more easier. So all of us should take a decision, because what we are seeing now, if it metamorphoses into another stage, it will be so difficult for us to reverse it. I see Ghana is blessed. We haven't gotten there, but we have you to be talking about it now. And if we should all join hands, I'm happy the president has also come out to say that if they don't, he himself is going to initiate a legislation to that. We'll be happy to hear that, and then we will enforce the law. I thank you very much, my Lord.
Thank you. You may leave now.
And that's the head of the police service responsible for the operational control and administration of the service. Inspector General of Police, the most senior police officer in Ghana, David Asante Apietu, appearing before the Commission of Inquiry, the first to do so today, Tuesday. Kojayang Singh, my colleague, is here. We will take you through some of his submissions before the Commission this morning. Kojo, let's begin from the, All right, so Kojayang Singh will come in a bit later, but there are others also scheduled to appear before the Commission today, including Codeo and CDD, election observers, and the very famous Double will also make an appearance today before the Commission. We're live. We thank you for your company here on the Joy News channel, also on radio on Joy 99.7 FM. And let's just quickly run you through some of the things that the IGP has said, but ending with what the police service has been doing about vigilantism, saying that they've started a campaign with some banners and indicating that the Pentecostal Council has come on board and urging civil society groups to join in the campaign, at some point making a strong case that if people refuse to give their vote to political parties and persons who they know are funding vigilantism, it would go a long way in helping the police service in fighting this menace, and indicating that if it goes beyond a certain point, it will be very difficult for them to deal with it. Kojo is here. Kojo, we would go from the beginning. The fact that the IGP, for instance, visited Baolishi, the scene of the violence, on Sunday. That will be 2 days after the Commission itself went there, to examine for themselves after hearing some testimonies.
That was of interest to me because I cast my mind back over the timeline of events, and I recalled that the NDC leadership made a personal complaint to the IGP on this matter, even before the commission was set up. So, following that formal complaint, Mr. Sam George was invited by the police to give a statement. So that, of course, is what sparks an investigation. And you will recall that all the members of parliament on the minority side marched together, to the police station to support Sam George when he gave that statement. So from the day Sam George gave that statement until Sunday, the IGP himself had not visited the crime scene. Of course, this does not mean that there was nothing being done. Obviously, the IGP is not the only police officer. There are many others who would have been working on the case. But the IGP himself found a need to go there on Sunday. And it's just as well that he did, because you can see how much of his ballistics experience he has brought to bear, even in the 2 days since he visited the scene. He was able to give quite a bit of a tutorial to the commission on how ballistics work, how bullets behave once they are fired out of a gun, and how the scene can be explained from a ballistic point of view. I found it very instructive to listen to his testimony on that.
He also talks about the fact that the police service gave the national security some 36 of their men. Interestingly, they are under the operational instructions of the national security. However, administratively, is the police that's responsible for these men. But there are some difficulties in there, to the extent that even questioning some of their men, some of the police officers attached to national security after the Ayawaso incident has been difficult. He talks about the fact that they've written twice to national security, and some of these men have not been released for them to question. That's interesting, considering they have the administrative power over these officers.
That came as a surprise to me. It came as a surprise to me for many reasons. The first one being that I understand bureaucracy, but sometimes we have to understand that the practical function of departments and offices are not always the same as the bureaucratic theory. So yes, we understand that officially you would have to write to national security to inform them that you are launching an investigation, and that investigation involves these particular police officers who have been seconded to you, and so we need them back for questioning. I understand that the bureaucracy will require that. But if I, Kujo, a citizen of Ghana, commit a crime, the police does not have to wait for a response to a letter they wrote to Kwesi before they can lay hands on me for the purpose of questioning me. They don't have to. And that is me. I don't belong to the police force. These are individuals who belong to the police service. Their salaries are paid by the police service. They are subject to the discipline of the police service. In fact, they have only been seconded to another organization. And we are hearing that the IGP, after 2 letters, still has not been able to lay his hands on them. That for me is a confusing difficulty of bureaucracy. I don't understand how that can be the case.
It's also interesting how some of them would join national security as police officers and come back specialized after some training as SWATs.
But you see, Professor Mensah Bonsu asked some questions that revealed an inherent danger there. If you're a police officer and you are seconded to any other institution or organization, you ought to be able to, the police ought to be able to account for what training you will undergo while you're there and what shape and form you will return in. So if you go somewhere and you are given guerrilla tactics training, you don't come back and use that on the streets of Accra.
We'll continue analysis in the studio, but let's join the commission now. Kodeo CDD election observers appearing.